Good morning. The House Transportation Committee for February 17th, 2026 is now in session. Would you please open the roll board, and members, please sign in and vote that you're present. Please take the roll, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, you have 12 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Any personal orders from members? Representative, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have today Katie French with me from Austin Peay University. She's a freshman. She's shadowing me today, and she's aspirations to be an attorney. She's getting a political science degree. Can you welcome her today, members?
Welcome. Any others? Seeing none, members, we do have a calendar today, followed by a hearing with some special guests representing our 5 commercial airports here in Tennessee. But first, we want to take up our calendar. Item number 1 has been rolled, requested by the sponsor to the next available calendar. And that will take us down to item number 2. And Representative Slater, you are recognized. I have a motion and a second, and I believe you have an amendment. Is that correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, that's correct. I have amendment 013323.
We have that amendment. That's the same I have. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor of adding the amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Amendment is on the bill. Please expand the bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee members, this bill addresses violations of the current law related to driving while holding an electronic device. These violations are cited over 12,000 times in our state. This came from a constituent of mine who is also a municipal judge in Hendersonville, and I worked with the Tennessee Municipal Judges Conference on this bill. Current law states that when someone is cited for violating the hands-free law, what takes place is it is constitutionally capped at a $50 fine, and then it's statutorily capped, court costs are statutorily capped at $10. So the maximum penalty for a first offense of the hands-free law is $60. And as you can imagine, $10 is really not enough to cover court costs at the local level. When I brought this bill to the subcommittee, it did pass unanimously, but there was also good discussion and question related to how much it would end up costing, how much the fees would be, local court costs. And so this amendment that is brought to you today would cap those fees, those local court costs and fees, to 50% of what is the routine cost for other moving violations. And the estimate is, because it does depend on jurisdiction, that looks like about $75 to $140 at the high end. And so it would be 50% of that would be in addition to the fine. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I stand ready for questions.
Thank you. Committee, you've heard the explanation. Any questions for the sponsor? Chairman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Now, Chairman Slater, thank you very much for listening to our concerns and working with us. I appreciate your diligence on this. And I did bring up that there were concerns about court costs escalating and beyond what would be reasonable for some folks. So thank you very much for hearing us. Very good work, and I'll certainly be supporting this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Are we ready to vote? Without objection, we're voting on a House Bill 1555. Please open the voting board and vote your conscience. Madam Clerk, please take the roll or take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 3 ayes and 2 noes.
Bill passes, and you're on your way to finance, Mr. Representative.
Thank you, committee.
Thank you very
Chairman.
much. Moving on to, boy, you talk about in the nick of time. Chairman Martin, Welcome to Transportation. House Bill number, item number 3, House Bill 1874. You recognize. We have a motion and a second. Explain the bill, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 1874 clarifies that the hybrid electric vehicle definition referenced in the Transportation Modernization Act. The Hamilton County Clerk's Office informed me that they receive questions daily regarding which vehicles need to pay the additional hybrid fee. The current hybrid definition references vehicles which are, quote, primarily powered by an electric vehicle, a motor, unquote. And this bill changes the language to a more literal definition of being, quote, propelled by a combination of electric motor, unquote, and another power source like a combustion engine. I want to thank the Department of Revenue providing this language, which aligns with our definition with the one used by the federal government. They've also confirmed with me that this language will not increase or decrease future fee revenues. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I stand ready for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. Any questions or comments for the sponsor? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? All in favor of this bill, please say aye. Oh, no, let's don't do that. Let's go to the board. That's an old throwback. Please vote your conscience. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 16 ayes and 0 noes.
The bill passes, and you're on your way to calendar and rules. Thank you. Representative McCalman, you're recognized on item number 4, House Bill 1546. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Sorry for my delay. I was in another committee. Simply put, this bill allows for school bus drivers in the state of Tennessee who are on controlled diabetic medicine to be able to pass across interstate lines as long as they have their condition in check. Currently, they are unable to do that down near Hamilton County and out near Bristol. They have instances where school bus drivers on their route have to cross into other states. That it's just basically a cleanup bill. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I stand ready for any questions.
I believe we have an amendment for your bill. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, drafting code 012832.
That's what I have. I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor of adding the amendment to the bill, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The amendment's on the bill. Does that drastically change the explanation you just gave?
No, Mr. Chairman, it does not.
Okay. Any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Without objection, please open the voting board and cast your vote. Please take the vote. Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes and 0 noes.
Bill passes, and you're on your way to calendar and rules. Thank you very
Thank you, Chairman.
much. We are now moving on to item number 5, Representative Sherrill, House Bill 1691. Is Representative Sherrill in the building? We will roll him to the hill. House Bill number 6 by Representative Stevens, you're recognized. We have item number 6. Representative Stevens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill would exempt an active U.S. military service member who is stationed out of state on military orders from paying the additional registration fee that's imposed on all electric vehicles at the time of renewal, which will either be $200 or $274. And right now, if they have a gas-powered vehicle and they're on out-of-state orders, they do not have to pay some or all of that registration fee each year. But if they have an electric vehicle, they do. So the bill tries to make the gas-powered vehicles and the electric vehicles treated the same.
Members, you've heard the explanation. Any questions for the sponsor? You guys are quiet today. These must be good bills. Seeing no questions, are we ready to vote? Please open the vote board. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stevens, your bill passes and goes to finance. And we still don't have Representative Sherrill. Without objection, we will roll House Bill 1691 to the next available calendar. Members, that is the end of our calendar, but we do have some guests with us, as I mentioned earlier. We have President Doug Crulin, the President of the Nashville BNA, and also President April Cameron, President of the Chattanooga Airport, called CHA, if you've ever flown. Both good airports, and they're here representing the five major commercial airports in the state of Tennessee, which contribute mightily to our economy. And so we're going to go out of session and hear from our guests. You're recognized. Whoever wants to speak first, go ahead. You're recognized.
Thank you very much, Chairman Howell and members of the Transportation Committee. I'm Doug Crulin, President of the Tennessee Association of Air Carrier Airports, and also President of the Nashville International Airport.
Good morning. I'm April Cameron, President of the Chattanooga Metropolitan Airport Authority. And Doug and I together are representing the other three airports, McGee-Tyson, Tri-Cities, and Memphis International.
We're excited to speak to the Transportation Committee because your assistance over the last many years have allowed the commercial airports to continue to meet the demands of the state of Tennessee. In the 2015 time period, what was referred to as the FedEx bill started reducing the Transportation Equity Fund fuel tax for carriers that flew a lot in the state of Tennessee. And over time, that has continued to decrease. In 2019, the state of Tennessee challenged the commercial airports to come up with a plan, a long-range plan that would allow us to fund our future growth to meet the requirements of the state of Tennessee. So we worked on that many times. We're seen before the Senate and House Transportation Committees as we came through that. But the goals are on the right side of this chart in the blue section there. You wanted a system that prioritized economic impact. You wanted one that eliminates our reliance on fuel taxes. You wanted us to generate a return on investment to the Tennessee taxpayers, and you wanted to keep us competitive with the states that border the state of Tennessee. What you see on the bottom half is how much the state of Tennessee has invested in the last several years. 23 was $72.75 million, and this year is the fifth year, which is what we have been building towards to reach $125 million in the governor's budget. And hopefully the House and Senate will pass that budget. The chart on the left is basically the full page diagram that we use with all officials to show what each of our airports is doing. And I'll let April jump onto that slide.
Okay. So in Chattanooga, we have had the opportunity, and we're so thankful for the state's participation in helping us fund several projects over the past few years with the $125 million that's proposed for this year. In Chattanooga, we plan to use that funding for development of a new parking garage. This will be a 1,600 space parking garage that will support growth of the commercial side of our operations. Likewise, in Memphis, they will be using their funding for a terminal modernization and seismic program that they've been working on. It's a continued project they've been working on for several years. Tri-Cities is going to continue to work on an aerospace park development, and McGee-Tyson is working on terminal landside development, including roads and a parking garage as well. And then Doug can talk a little bit about what BNA is doing with theirs.
Sure. And on the BNA side of the house, we'd again welcome the committee to come out and tour any of our 5 commercial airports. But if you would like to come to Nashville, we can definitely show you all that's going on. Each year on that previous chart, we identify specific programs that we pitch to the governor and his team, as well as the House and Senate. At Nashville this year, if we receive the requested amount in FY 27, the $125 million, the portion that we get at Nashville will be built, will be dedicated to the Concourse A replacement. We have demoed the existing Concourse A, which held 6 gates. The new Concourse A will have 16 gates, cost approximately $855 million to build that. The state of Tennessee will contribute around $40-some million towards that $855 million, but that'll allow Nashville to grow from its current size of 26 million today to 40 million in the future. The other thing I would mention on that, it's not shown on that slide, but the state, Commissioner McWhorter, Deputy Governor, and the governor himself really wants to see us lengthen a runway at Nashville so that we can go nonstop to Asia. Tennessee has 200 plus Japanese companies in the state of Tennessee, and 56,000 plus Tennesseans work for those companies. And eventually we would like to be able to fly nonstop. In order to get all the way to Asia, 7,000 miles to Asia versus 4,500 miles to Europe, we need a longer runway. So that's what we're focused on. And each year we pick new projects to show the state of Tennessee what's being returned on or what's being built. And so we'll jump into this next slide. And I'll give you the big overview. And then I know on the following chart, April has some more to highlight to you. But when we started this in 2019, and then we started it out with an economic impact study that the state of Tennessee generated. And it showed that the 5 commercial airports were generating $19.5 billion in annual economic impact. We commissioned a follow-up study 5 years later to see how we're doing. And the results of that study are just coming out. And we've grown that $19.5 billion annually to $28 billion. And then if you look over on the right side of the chart, the bar diagrams, it basically shows that in 2019, we were generating $702 million in state taxes. And this year, the 5 commercial airports will generate a little over 1.1 billion. And that's that's how we're calculating return on investment, which April will talk to. And then I'll just jump back right to the center, that first sub bullet. We were doing about 100,000 jobs between the 5 commercial airports, and now it's a little over 171,000 jobs are working in and around the airport business on all those commercial fields.
So on this slide, you can see, as Doug mentioned, one of the priorities was to be able to show a return on investment. And so you can, as he mentioned, the total airport economic impact increased from 19 million. It is now at 28 billion. And then the state taxes that are generated by the airports comes in at 1.1 billion. So if we are provided the 125 million this year, then the return on investment would be $975 million. So we feel that that's a very strong return on investment for the state's investment in our local airports.
And then the last slide is just to say thank you again. We think we've been wisely investing to keep up with the growth. All 5 commercial airports are setting new records during these last 5 years of economic growth in the state of Tennessee. And I know that Patrick Wilson from Knoxville couldn't be here today, and Terry Blue from Memphis, in the same way with Gene Cossey at Tri-Cities. But all of them, and April and myself, are extremely proud of what we're doing for the state of Tennessee, but really proud of the support and leadership that you've been providing to us. And with that, we'd answer any questions.
Well, thank you for being here. Some very impressive numbers, and especially on the return on investment. I'll take that deal any day. I don't know what percent, but it's higher than I'm getting on my IRA. I know that. We do have some questions from our committee. Vice Chairman Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm curious, you mentioned we need a longer runway. So could you share with us the length to the runways that we have in Nashville and what length we would have to go to in order to get into a direct flight to Asia?
Sure. We've been working with the FAA to determine that length. We have in Nashville 3 north-south runways that are approximately 8,000 feet long. That works great to get 4,500 miles to Europe. But in order to get to Asia, 7,000 miles to either Japan, Korea, or China, you need approximately 11,500 to 12,000 feet. So what the FAA does is go out. If each of you were airlines, they would ask you as an airline, if you're going to fly nonstop to Asia on a hot day in Tennessee without any weight or penalty, you don't kick passengers off or cargo off, you want to fly fully loaded, in this type of jet, how much runway would you need? And the airlines tell them that answer, and then the FAA runs their own calculation. But we don't have 100%, but it's pretty darn close to 11,500 feet.
Follow up?
Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we have the available land to extend? Obviously, we don't need to extend all three of them, but at least one, do we have the available land to do that?
Correct. We own the Nashville International Airport owns the majority of the land that it would need. There is some property that we would end up purchase if we ever gain approval for that, and that's part of that environmental review that we've been going through for about 6 years right now.
Follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One more follow-up, as I'm just intrigued by this. How long would it take for that process to be completed for us to be able to add that additional runway? I'm not holding you to anything, but.
Correct. So I'm the same way on the I wish I could do it fast, but once we complete the environmental approvals and finally get permission to go, it'll take approximately 6 years to construct it. Yes, sir.
Chairman Russell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the presentation. Very good. How are y'all doing on air traffic controllers?
You want to answer that or do you want me to? Go ahead. So on the air traffic control, April, myself and the other CEOs, we basically own the land in the airport, and 1 inch off the ground, you're federal. So the federal air traffic controllers are run by the FAA, and so they provide that. In Nashville, I can speak to, we have a little over 40 controllers. They're within the next few months, they're going to upgrade Nashville to 56 plus controllers. They want to put in a new air traffic control tower because you have to be able to see the ends of the longest runway. So the current control tower in Nashville is 168 feet tall. The new control tower will be 339 feet tall so that it can see the corners of the farthest runways. That is intermixed with the runway lengthening and the new control tower, but the FAA has spoken to the Nashville and the state leaders, and basically Nashville, in their words, is the new Charlotte, the new Atlanta. And so they're investing money to bring the air traffic controller numbers up and give them newer equipment. We invested with the FAA in the gold building that's off of Bradley Parkway. We have worked with the FAA. There's now a simulator inside that building. So when people graduate from the FAA Air Traffic Control School, they come straight to Nashville to be trained, and they don't have to travel to another airport.
Great. And what's y'all's working relationship with the federal government? Is it pretty good or any problems?
I'd say it's been the biggest challenge for us. I mean, the leadership wise, we've gotten great support. So from the past administration and the current administration, the secretaries of transportation and the FAA have listened to Nashville and their concerns. And I would say the same for the other airports as well. The biggest challenge we have is the paperwork side of the house. How do you move stuff through? We're business people. And so this is costing us a lot of money that we can't start a project that the state wants, a longer runway or new development. So those delays are what cost us money and time.
Very good. And my last question, Mr. Chairman, how is it working with the state of Tennessee? Are we doing pretty good?
When we started this program years ago, I've been blessed to be the head of the air carriers for a little while now. We were 6th, 7th, in the United States, and we're right behind Florida and right even with North Carolina and the support that you provide to us. So it's important for us. We're always competing for business with Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi and the such. So what you have been providing to us has given all of us the opportunity to grow. We use that $125 million. It's divided up amongst the 5 of us, but we're leveraging that to go issue bonds. So when the state of Tennessee invests in us, we're able to go borrow more money to build these kind of huge projects we're talking about.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Representative Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here. It's always good to have the airports briefing. On the Concord that you're building, what is the time frame for that to be the Concord A replacement? What's the timeline on that for that to be done?
So we started demo a few months back. It'll open up on July 11th of 2028. And it's the new home for us. American Airlines will move off of C onto A, and it'll have a new lounge for American Airlines, and United will occupy the rest of the gates.
And I think, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think you mentioned how many additional passenger would you be? Well, I'm sorry, what was that number again?
So we're currently going to go through 26 million passengers this year. And the airport is building everything in that current terminal to handle 40 million passengers. So by time we open up Concourse A on July 11th of 28, we'll be around 28 million. So we'll be able to grow by 12 million more passengers before that terminal is full. So the purpose of that is it gives us a 10-year window to start thinking about if there's another terminal that needs to be built for Nashville.
Last question. And I can only imagine the traffic that's going to happen based on that and the infrastructure of our highways and how that's going to impact another 12 million travelers is going to be detrimental if we don't do something to kind of fix our roads and
Yes,
things
sir.
like that.
So all of the 5 airports are authorities. We all own the property that the airport sits on. So in Nashville's case, we have 4,600 acres of property. I can spend our dollars on our property. And so we're spending north of 360 million. We have over 50 traffic models now on the future roads. When you drive by the Nashville airport, you see all that construction. That road construction is being built to handle 40 million passengers. How you get there on I-40 or Donaldson, once you arrive at the Nashville airport, you'll basically be on a 2-mile oval, 6 to 7 lanes wide, so that traffic will circulate smoothly. And TDOT has been an instrumental business partner with us. They're modeling with us, and we're arguing over this intersection or that intersection. What happens if a car breaks down right here? What's that going to do to traffic? But we couldn't do it without Commissioner Reed and the team.
Last question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
And of course, as a veteran, I'm always concerned about us.
Same here.
So we lost our parking, our free parking for, we lost our free parking for, permanent and total disabled veterans. Can you tell me the rationale behind that?
Sure. So when we accept $1 from the federal government, April, myself, any of the other CEOs have to sign one of 40 grant assurances. And one of them is for us to be as self-sustaining as possible. And another one talks about revenue diversion. So I can't give, and I'm a retired veteran, also disabled from the service, but we cannot give a benefit to one group that we're not giving to all the other groups. That would be considered revenue diversion from the FAA. So we tried it for a while. We chatted with all of our legal experts, and we can't do it because we would be in violation of grant assurances, and then the rest of us end up going to the pokey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Sure. Representative Vital, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you both for being here. I first must say we are very proud of the improvements that have been made in Chattanooga. The new parking garage has made a big difference, and also the investments that we've made on our fixed base operator side has really helped diversify our opportunity to serve Southeast Tennessee. My question is really in relationship to Nashville, BNA. I know the expansion over the last 40 years has just been beyond anyone's comprehension. We do share part of that landmass with the Air National Guard, Berry Field. There's been discussion about the relocation, the transition of those types of military operations to Smyrna. How is that progressing? And give us a little update on that.
Sure, and I would echo your comments on April's leadership in Chattanooga. She's been kind enough to give me a tour of her fantastic airport. And I've seen Wilson Air, as well as I was really got a picture by her solar farm, because that was very interesting for us. Reference the National Guard on BNA. Today's terminal sits on 400 acres. If we were going to build a twin to handle more than 40 million, we would need another large swath of property. So we have identified, we took about 12 months to study that. There's a 309 acres of property, but I have to move all of my maintenance out of the way, all of the FBOs out of the way, all of the hangars out of the way, and eventually the Guard. The Guard has a lease till 2045 on that 80 acres of that 309. And so we would start from the north end and move to the south towards Murfreesboro, but we would not impact the Guard until well after their lease expires. And so they're working on plans between now and 2045 to relocate and develop a joint base down at the Smyrna Airfield.
Thank you for that update. I'm sure that we won't run to the end of 2045 and then think about how we have to relocate that, because just thinking where we've been in the last 20 years at BNA, I think the next 20 years, we're going to need that 80 acres. The military is also going to need the facilities to be modernized, runway capacity down there. So I would hope that the State Department of Military and BNA can continue to work on that and keep that moving along rather than in the last 5 or 10 years before that's
We have a
termination.
we have a good relationship with the National Guard on the property. And I believe in the governor's budget, I saw something north of 80 million to help them prep to move, to build the sites up in the Smyrna area. So that's money well invested.
Thank you.
Thank you, Microsoft. Speaker Marsh, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Doug, I thank you all for being here today. I'm very interested in the Boring Company and getting the congestion off the roads. And I want to hear your take on that. How much money is the airport going to receive, and how many passengers a day should this take off the roads, and all kind of things like that, if you wouldn't mind filling us in.
Sure. Well, we have a board meeting tomorrow at the Airport Authority where I'm asking the commissioners to approve what is called a letter of intent. That basically, we have been negotiating with the Boring Company for several months now that outlines the basic terms that both parties agree that they would construct a final agreement with. So hopefully that gets approved tomorrow at 1:00. I was here in 2014 when Uber and Lyft first came to, TNCs first came to the state of Tennessee. We were the first airport in the United States to work out a business deal with them. That first year, they had 60,000 Ubers and Lyfts come to the airport and at a different location. We've since built a ground transportation center. And this past year, our Uber and Lyft numbers are 4.1 million vehicles. We get 550 Ubers and Lyft per hour, 20 hours a day at the airport. So back to the question on traffic, that's why we're modeling the traffic to handle 40 million vehicles worth 40 million. Doesn't matter to us who's driving them, mom, dad, friend or family member or Uber and Lyft. But how do you handle that? So the Boring Company, if successful in Nashville, drilling from Nashville to the Airport Authority, will drill 2 tunnels, approximately 8 to 9 miles underground to the Airport Authority. And the volume of traffic that'll either handle growth or new capacity, but it'll allow people to travel from Nashville Airport to the Music City Center or State Capitol or wherever they decide to end it without any traffic lights, without having to stop for congestion. The 2 tunnels described could handle theoretically 28 million vehicles at a time. Hypothetically, we won't ever fill that. I mean, we would not be big enough to do that. So we have a business deal with the Boring Company at no cost to the airport. They will build it, operate it, and maintain it. They will pay us a license fee to rent property where the two tunnels come out of the ground and where they load and unload. The other entities share space. This would be exclusive space that they're going to rent from us. And then they would pay us the same trip fee that Ubers and Lyfts pay today. So we estimate if the deal is approved, it's 40 years with 2 5-year options, that over that 50-year time period, they would pay us about $35 million in rent or leasing space. And we would generate north of 309 million at a very conservative numbers of people using that tunnel from fees. That number is important. One, it's conservative, but two, we just borrowed or issued $1.3 billion of bonds, and we received those proceeds on February 4th. And our 10-year pro forma that we took to New York to advocate to those that issued the bonds to us, this money was not there. So we can pay for what we just borrowed. Boring Company would be theoretical new money, and that would be new money used to pay for this next terminal. So that's entirely how April's airport is set up. My airport is set up, Memphis, Knoxville, Tri-Cities. We have to generate the money to build what the state of Tennessee needs. And so if it's approved tomorrow, then we'll move forward with drafting a long-term agreement that both parties will sign.
Follow up?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Last on the list, Representative Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here. So at a moment when we have urgent infrastructure needs, roads, bridges, transit connectivity, we are being asked to lock into a generational commitment to a single billionaire's tunnel experiment. My question, are we investing in durable public goods? Or are we underwriting a private tech venture? Public infrastructure is supposed to serve the common good. It's built to last. It's accountable to the public. It is governed by performance, safety, and long-term return. And over the past several months, I've talked to elected leaders in other states where Musk-led projects were announced with fanfare only to stall and quietly disappear. And it is to taxpayers, travelers, and the long-term viability of our city and state. If we are going to commit public land, public access, and public trust for decades, then the public deserves absolute clarity about the risks if this project falls apart, which, if anyone understands Tennessee limestone, is an absolute possibility. What has been said is that the tunnel is privately funded. However, 2 questions for you. 1, who bears the long-term maintenance and capital replacement cost over the 40-year term? And how are those obligations allocated in the contract? And then 2, does the agreement include any clawback provisions allowing the airport to recover public expenditures or opportunity costs if the project fails to meet contractual obligations? Thank you.
So, a lot in that. I'll try to answer as best I can. So first thing is there's no taxpayer dollars being used to build the tunnel. I've negotiated a contract with the executives of the Boring Company, and that's who we'll end up executing the document with. So in my personal opinion, there's no taxpayer dollars being expended at this point. There's definitely no airport authority dollars being expended because we are charging them for every bit of surface, every bit of road that they're going to generate, where they're going to load and unload. So we are benefiting from that. I'm treating them the same as a rental car company coming into the airport or any concessionaire. They're paying us to work on the airport property and provide a service that we believe might be beneficial. To your question on the long-term viability of that, that's at their risk. If they're successful, if they generate the number of trips they need to recover their cost, which they seem highly confident that they'll be able to do. But I, meaning the airport authority, has no obligation to pay for the operations maintenance of that facility. If there are provisions, and again, probably very, very highly unlikely, if they were ever to walk away from that deal, we would repurpose that same property for reuse. It would not be hard for us to do. Just like downtown, you see, if the where the two tunnels come out of the ground. It's called a portal. If that portal was closed because they're not operating anymore, I tear down that, go down and put a new foundation in for a 7-Eleven or some other type. So it would not be strenuous on our part to redevelop that property that we plan to rent them for a long term. And they also have to provide access to what we just discussed earlier. If you go above 40 million, as it comes up Murfreesboro, turns left on Donaldson, as it's coming up under those two bridges, you see the airplanes taxi across. Well, just before that, it'll have a little offshoot. If we ever build a second terminal in the 2038 to 2078 time period, where the guard property is at, there'll be another opportunity for a tunnel to pop out of the ground there. So we have built for as far in the future as we think we can contemplate at this point.
Thank you. That's all the names on the list. One final thing. Again, thank you for being here, but we had some special guests in the committee last from Ireland.
Yes.
And they toured your airport, were quite impressed. And could you talk about the direct flight that I believe is starting up again at the end of this month? Talk about the direct flight to Dublin.
Sure. We have 3 nonstops to Europe, British Airways to London, and then we have Aer Lingus nonstop to Dublin, Ireland, and then nonstop to Iceland. Both Iceland and Aer Lingus tend to, based on the winter weather, to do all their maintenance in bad weather months like February and March. So they are back to flying with us. All 3 of those nonstop services have flourished, and they're adding more flights, more frequency, or larger airplanes on all of those. And it was helpful to have the transportation team from Ireland come tour Nashville, because they're doing the same. They're looking at the same challenge that we are. How do you handle 40? They're at 36 million passengers. How do they handle 40 million? How are you building these roads? How do you build this fast in the United States? We're not able to build that fast in Ireland. So I think they took a lot of lessons learned, and it was an honor to host them.
Yeah, they were very impressed. And I was interested to learn that if you fly to Dublin, I think it's only like a 6-hour flight.
It's a little over 6 hours.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then when you come back, you go through customs in Dublin. You don't have to wait and go through customs when
Correct.
you get to
Yeah,
Nashville. So
British
that's a
Airways-
convenience.
British Airways and Icelandair, you go through customs when you arrive here, but they have pre-clearance in Ireland.
So when
So
you
you're in the United States before you leave Ireland. You just walk right off the airplane and head to your car.
yeah, that's really good. I hope to someday make that flight. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Both of you for
Thank you.
coming and sharing with us today, and appreciate what our commercial airports do for the economy of the state of Tennessee. We have, let's see, we need to go back into session. We're back into session, and I'm going to recognize Vice Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there be time remaining on our calendar, I'd move that we reconsider our actions on item number 5 and take up House Bill 1691.
That's a proper motion. I have a second. Any objections? Without objections, we're going to take up item number 5, House Bill number 1691 by Representative Sherrill. Representative Sherrill, you're recognized. I have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Chairman. I do want to apologize for not being on time, and I got tied up with my hospital people.
It's a busy time.
Anyway, thank you for the opportunity to present the bill. House Bill 1691, this bill is for the Upper Cumberland Airport, which joins together with White and Putnam County Airport. And what they're wanting to do is reduce the airport authority term from 5 years to 4 years, and it'll bring it within the election of like your regional airport of your county mayors. So it'll be every 4 years instead of 5.
You've heard the explanation from the sponsor. Any questions? Seeing none, without objection, we're voting on House Bill 1691. Madam Clerk, please open the voting board. please take the roll.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes and 0 noes.
The bill passes and goes to calendar and rules. Thank you. Members, the chair will entertain a motion. So moved. We are adjourned.